I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, I'm going to call this one Stop the Madness. And I've done similar blogs to this over the years. The biggest mistakes that mostly sellers, but I'm going to brush on the big mistake that I see buyers doing as well here in the Vancouver real estate market. Now, first one is, you guys know what it's going to be on the selling side. I know I've harped on this so many times. I've done so many blogs on this, but this is single-handedly the biggest critical error that a seller makes, and that is selling a home with a tenant still occupying it, or in some cases, multiple tenants. Detached house with suites, they've got 2 or 3 tenants in there. I've done so many blogs on this. Go back and watch the probably 15 or 20 blogs I've done over the years on it. But I'm going to give you guys a new wrinkle and something that's going to scare you guys here. This is a new problem with tenanted properties. I've told you guys, selling a tenanted property, with our current rental rates, you're eliminating a good percentage of the buyer pool because they're investors and they don't want to assume your tenant at below market rent. But the big things are presentation. The unit is going to be a mess. You're restricted on showing times. It's not going to show to its full potential. And then, of course, you've got to give the tenant notice, and it's a longer closing time. Here's a new wrinkle. Now, this, I'm just starting, you don't hear a lot about this, but this plays out a lot more than people think under the surface here. I just saw finally an article that did come out, I think it was in CTV, a story where, and this plays out where you sell the home tenanted, the new buyer is going to move into the home because nobody's assuming a tenant anymore. They do everything right. They file the proper paperwork. You have to, the owner has to certify that they are going to move into the property as a principal residence. You need to give the tenant 2 clear months notice. I go one step better and also get them to sign a mutual agreement to end tenancy for the exit date. And then, of course, you owe that tenant 1 month's rent for compensation. So they do everything right, the seller does, except for the fact that they sold it tenanted. Possession day comes along, the new buyer's got the moving truck out in the driveway, and guess what? The tenant's still in the home, doesn't want to leave. And this plays out a lot more than people think. It's just not talked about very much. I know of several of these going on with colleagues that have told me about this. It's not their situation. They do what I do and sell these units vacant and get the tenants out. But they've got several situations like this playing out in their brokerage where they've sold a house, given the tenant notice, and the tenants barricaded themselves in there and isn't leaving. And you see, this is becoming a real issue right now because in a lot of cases, these tenants have been in there for 2, 3, 4 years. They're paying $1,800 a month. They get the 2 clear months notice to vacate. They go into the rental market and they're shocked. What they're paying $1,800 for now is $3,200 a month. And that's even if you can find a place, of course. Vacancy is near zero. They can't find a place. So what do? They just sit put. I can't move. I can't find a place. I'll be sleeping in my car. And of course, the Tenancy Act here in BC, as people know, I've done lots of blogs on it, is the pendulum is heavily weighted towards the tenant. The tenant, don't get me wrong, needs to be protected and has rights. But of course, over the last 5 or 6 years, that pendulum has shifted far too much in the favor of the tenant, in my opinion. There's all kinds of horror stories out there. Tenants refusing to pay rent. It takes 5, 6, 7 months to get a hearing to get the tenant eventually removed. And you see, that's the same thing that plays out in this situation. That tenant, it's going to take time. You're going to have to file the paperwork with the tenancy tribunal and get a hearing date and all that other good stuff. And in a lot of cases, the tenant knows this. It buys them time. But here is where it gets incredibly ugly. If that happens and you're the seller in this, you are really in some serious trouble here. You've got some serious liability here. And you could be on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars. I've heard some that have run well into $100,000 on a detached property where the tenant didn't leave. The first step is you're going to have to house that new buyer. That buyer's already sold his place, or given notice to his current property. You're going to have to put him in a hotel or a furnished rental of some sort. And guess what? It's going to come out of the buyer's pocket at first. But at the end of the day, Mr. Seller, you're the one that's going to be paying for that. You're then going to have to get a storage locker and a moving company to put all his furniture or her furniture into a storage locker indefinitely. So this can, and plus you might be on the hook depending on the situation for other damages. So this can run into the tens of thousands of dollars. It's just one more nail in the coffin, guys, on be very careful about selling a home with the tenant in it. This is the mutual agreement to end tenancy. If you're selling an investment home or an investment unit with tenants or a number of tenants, if your realtor isn't educating you or advising you on this, then you need to get another realtor quick. And I can tell you right now, most realtors are kind of familiar with the mutual agreement to end tenancy, but very few know how to properly execute it, negotiate it, make it a win-win situation for both the seller and the buyer. But the final thing, of course, is getting your tenant out. Offer them 2 months rent. You have to give them a month anyways. Offer them 2 or 3 or 4. I'll get that back for you 2 or 3-fold in the final selling price, because now I've got the full demographic of buyers, end users, and investors. Plus the big thing is, I'm going to talk about it right next here, is the presentation of the unit. It makes all the difference in the world. That brings me to number 2. Not properly preparing and presenting your home for sale. So as the next few months, we're going to start heading into our spring market. I've done lots of blogs on this. I'm still just baffled at some of the homes that I see. Now, a lot of them, of course, are tenanted. They show like shit. I'm going to be straight up with you. They're a mess, cluttered, filthy. Nothing's been cleaned. It's just the way it is. Not all. Every now and again, I'll see a tenanted property where there's some, the tenant has taken incredible care with the home, neat and clean and tidy. But those are probably 5%. The vast majority of tenanted properties are a mess inside. You are leaving, and just for the cleanliness factor alone, the difference between a unit that's had a maid team in there for 5 hours, deep cleaning the cabinets, the appliances, the floor, it smells good, $10K on a typical 1-bedroom condo. The difference between a tenanted property that's dirty and messy, doesn't smell good, compared to a clean unit. That's what it is, $8 to $10K. So it's going to cost you $800 for the maid. It's going to get you $8,000 back. You tell me if you think it's worth it. But of course, the other thing, tenanted properties, they're cluttered, boxes everywhere, furniture, over furnished usually. Not properly preparing your house for sale. And then of course, how you time the sale, when you list it, when you do the showings, open houses. You should always be doing holdbacks. It doesn't matter if it's a buyer's market, which is almost never, but balanced market or seller's market is what we're in most of the time. 70% of the time, we're probably in a seller's market. So it's in your best interest to show the home, get it looking perfect, paint touch-ups, any minor repairs, because they're going to be caught in the home inspection anyways. Or even better, you want to entice people as much as possible, if the house is mint, to write you a subject-free offer. That's what I want. Subject-free, no financing, no home inspection, over asking. That's what I like. That's what you want to do, everything in your power to attract. And then the other thing, of course, as I said, is you do holdbacks. Always do holdbacks. I've never done, I can't think of a time when I've ever listed a home that I didn't do holdbacks. Holdbacks is you list it, you show it at least for a week, and then you look at offers. Oftentimes I don't get an offer on offer night, but other times I'll get 10 offers. It depends on what you're selling, where the market's at, the type of home it is. Doubtful you're going to get multiple offers, a huge bidding war on a $4 million luxury condo. But on a prime 1-bedroom priced at $650, absolutely. So not properly being coached, not properly being instructed or counseled on how to properly present your home. It makes a huge difference. On the buying side, this one I haven't talked about much. Biggest mistake buyers make is not having a realtor. And I see this play out. I'm seeing it more and more. People need to understand here that the rules of cooperation here and how I can handle and who I can work with have changed dramatically over the last 5 years. In the old days, we'll call it, we used to be able, and it was done more often, what we call a double end. In other words, a buyer comes off the street, doesn't have a realtor, I want an offer on the home, no problem. It wasn't that big of a deal. They had to sign a waiver form saying that, hey, I'm what was called a customer relationship. I have no fiduciary duty to you, Mr. Buyer. I work for the seller. But hey, if you want to write an offer, you tell me what you want to write, put in your subject clauses, I'll write it for you and I'll present it. But those rules now have changed dramatically. I guess about 2 years ago, we're not self-governed anymore. Realtors now are governed by the BC Financial Institution. And, they've made it incredibly difficult to what we call double end or give someone an unrepresented party. The documents you have to sign now are incredibly daunting. Right on the top line, it's saying you better consult a lawyer before you sign anything. This realtor is not working for you. Be extremely careful. Talk to your lawyer before you work with him. And to be honest, I don't want to deal with you. I want to work with your realtor. But I still continue to get calls from signs in some cases. They drive by the listing. Or, of course, my listings get put into areas like Real Estate Weekly or Realty Link, which is the general public's MLS. They'll call me on these, and first off, a lot of times they're $1 late and $1 short. I've already got an accepted offer. It's been listed for 8 or 9 days. Offer night was 2 days ago. You missed it. That's why you need a realtor to keep you up on these new listings, because so many times they call me and it's already either sold firm and I'm waiting for the cooling off period, or I've got an accepted offer and I'm waiting for subject. So they're always a day late and $1 short. But the other thing is they'll call me up and they'll say, hey, I'm interested in your home at so-and-so on Richard Street. Okay, my first question to you is going to be, do you have a realtor? In some cases they'll say, yeah, I do have a realtor. Fantastic, it's still available. Have your realtor get in touch with me. We have a system called TouchBase, which us realtors communicate by. I can set up a showing for him, send him all the documents and all that other good stuff. In a lot of cases, though, they say, no, I don't have a realtor. Well, I'm sorry, you need to get a realtor. And in some cases, too, I've got trustee sales that I'm selling and I can't go near you unrepresented. I don't want to. So you have to get a realtor. It's amazing how many people call me on listings and don't have a realtor. I'm more than happy to show you the home if it's still available, but get a realtor. If you don't have a realtor, sometimes they'll tell me they do. I said, great, call them. Or I can refer you to one if you want, but that's as far as I'm going to get in with you. I cannot really represent you and I don't want to. There's just too much risk involved now, too much red tape. The other thing I find with these people, of course, they're always in the early stages of looking. If they want a referral to a realtor, the next thing I'll ask them is, are you pre-qualified for the mortgage? A lot of times they'll tell me, no, I haven't looked into that. Well, this is premature then. Go talk to a bank, go talk to a lender. If you still want to get referred to a realtor once you're pre-approved, drop me an email and I'll refer you to someone in my office or someone that can help you. But oftentimes they don't even have that step taken care of. I mean, these people, buyers, you need to understand something. Getting a realtor does not cost you anything, and it will save you hundreds of hours and possibly buying the wrong home, but a lot of wasted time. The buying realtor gets paid by the seller in what we call a full cooperating commission. So it's in your best interest to hire a realtor. Don't just hire any realtor. If you want to buy a 1-bedroom condo in downtown Vancouver, hire a downtown specialist, someone like me. Or if you want to buy an investment unit, hire an investment specialist, a realtor that knows the good buildings, the good stratas, the cap rates, and all the other good stuff. So, that good qualified realtor is going to save you all kinds of time and frustration. Bottom line is, for the vast majority of these people that call me, they're a fish out of water. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't have any clue about the strata, of course. And it's really not my job to educate you. I'm busy with my listings. I want to work with realtors. Realtors that are licensed, have fiduciary duty to you, Mr. Buyer. But nothing wrong if you're in the early stages of looking for a home. Before you've got a realtor, go to some open houses. That's absolutely a fantastic way to get a feel for the market, what these condos are selling at, and then you can kind of track them and see what they sold at. That's a good way to get a start. But calling realtors directly off public ads, off the public MLS, looking for showings, you're kind of wasting your time there. You're putting the horse before the cart there. Get a realtor. Hire a realtor. Final thing, just off topic. I'm just going to talk about investing for retirement and getting your money saved in your invested in your RSP and your TFSA. I've talked about it many times before. Biggest mistake people make is not investing that 100 hours. If you read my book, I'll plug my book here. Start with my book, Along for the Ride. Get it on Amazon. $12, $13, still a bestseller. I think it's $9.99 on Kindle. It'll be the best $10 you spent. And in there, in the back, I've got all the other resources, websites, other books I want you to read. But biggest mistake people make is not investing that 75 to 100 hours in just learning the basics of how the RSP, the TFSA, how the stock market, how to get your money invested, and how passive investing, low-cost passive investing through ETFs works. I tell you, 2023 was an incredible year in the stock market, but a lot of people missed out on it. It's nuts. They all went into guaranteed fixed income stuff because, hey, interest rates went up. I can earn 5% on a GIC. Great. But you just missed out on 40%. And that's what stock markets do, and the real estate market. It stays quiet for a year or a year and a half, or goes flat or goes up or down 5%, and then it takes these 30, 40, 50, 60% jolts. And that's what we just missed in 2023. Learn the basics. Spend 100 hours. That's all it takes. Read my book. Read the couple of other books that I recommend in here. Go onto a site like Canadian Couch Potato. The 100 hours, that will take, most people watch 20 or 25 hours, 30 hours of TV a week, I hear. So it'll take you about a month or a month and a half. Stop watching TV, cut the cable, and learn about this stuff. This could equate to hundreds of thousands of dollars when you're in your retirement age. But that's all it takes. And most people, for whatever reason, it continues to baffle me, just do not want to put in that 100 hours to learn the basics, and you'll be set, and you will not need any financial planning or hire a stockbroker or anything else. Do it yourself and save the money. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.